Okay, we're live, I think. Are we recording? First of all, my name is Troy Kearns. I've been investing in real estate for 15 years, made a lot of bad decisions, done wholesaling, done everything in regards to real estate. And I'm always trying to find and look at new deals. A little bit of backdrop about this story. You can go to the other video that we've already shot about Ryan and how we met. But on this particular video, we're going to get into wholesaling and why Ryan is like probably the number one wholesaler in America. Is that a fair statement?
I mean, yeah, let's just go ahead and throw that out there.
Well, I mean, that's the title of the video. That's going to be the title of the video, bro.
Roll with it.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I don't have a trophy that says that, but
we can order one. We can make one on Amazon. You know, these days you get somebody on Etsy, just say number one wholesaler in America, and there you go.
Yeah.
So the title of this video is actually going to be Wholesaling Real Estate 2021. And what I want, the reason I'm having you on, it's not that I can't talk about wholesaling. I've done plenty of wholesale deals. I've made $90,000 rips. I've made $100,000 rips. I've made $3,000 rips, $1,000 rips, $500 rips. You know, one of the things that I think is really key for someone who's starting into real estate, the best way to start is, I believe, is wholesaling, because it allows the person, you, in this particular case, Ryan Haywood, to educate himself on deal finding, on negotiation, on construction. You're going to have to get estimates. So it's really a good way to get into real estate with no money and understand how to buy real estate, how to find deals, and then to go meet with other investors like myself who are doing stuff and flipping those properties, and then you learn from them. So do you want to talk about your entire process of wholesaling explained from start to finish is really what I want to hear from you.
Yeah. And, you know, and I'll piggyback on that too, because I feel like wholesaling is a good way to get started into real estate, because it teaches you, like you said, it teaches you about your rehab estimates. It teaches you about what the market is and what property values are. But it's important to actually dig into that stuff. Like you cannot be an effective wholesaler if you don't know your rehab costs, or, you know, have a basis to figure in for a rehab cost. Because it's not just about finding a cheap house. You could have a cheap house that's worth nothing, you know, versus having a cheap house that's worth $75,000 to $80,000 when you fix it up. So knowing those things is huge.
You got to keep this in mind when we're talking on YouTube. There are places outside of St. Joe where just the lot alone, even if the house is scraped, is actually worth a lot of money. So in your particular market, sometimes because you're in a market where you have more supply than you have demand, then that is the case. But when you have more demand than you have supply, you're always going to be able to turn that off, even if the repairs are high. So it's very market specific.
Yeah, that's very true. So our process, you know, has taken us 1.5 years to hone in on our process. Early on, it was just me doing it by myself. So a lot of the lead generation was coming from DealMachine, driving for dollars, going out and being consistent about it. You can't just go out.
When you dig into driving for dollars, what is that? I mean, believe it or not, most people don't know what it is.
Yeah, driving for dollars is the process of literally driving around in your car, looking for properties that are distressed, that show symptoms of distress, that, you know, boarded up windows, roof in disrepair, stuffed mailboxes. I mean, looking for symptoms that people aren't taking care of the property, overgrown grass, all of those things that make it look like, man, nobody's living here.
Abandoned.
Yeah, vacant houses, or just poorly managed property. So you're driving around and you're looking for those types of properties. And then through DealMachine, you're able to send postcards, you're able to skip trace and call those individuals and find out if they're willing to sell their house. And then from that point, it's a matter of going and looking at it and getting your eyes on it and finding out how much your rehab costs are going to be, what your ARV is going to be.
Let's talk about ARV. Did you know what ARV was before you started in wholesaling real estate?
Nope.
So good rule. It's just a really good rule of thumb about how to make a good purchase, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have to have a way to prove, there needs to be a science to prove whether a deal is a good deal or bad.
What does ARV stand for? We're going to put it up on the screen.
Yeah. ARV is your after repair value, what the property is worth after you fixed it up. What we have done in our market, you can find ARV a variety of different ways. Don't always just trust the Zestimate. Look at maybe 3 resources. So you have Realtor, you have Redfin, you have Zillow. Look at them all and kind of try to average out. If one of them is saying the property is worth 50, one of them saying it's worth 90, and one of them saying it's worth 75, find the middle ground on that and base your ARV off of that middle ground. So average out, take the high, the low, and the medium, or whatever they are, and average them out and find the middle ground. And from there, you're taking 70% of that ARV is going, this is incredible. This is helping you find out how you make an offer to a person that wanting to sell a property. You take 70% of your ARV. So if your ARV is, and I'm getting my calculator, 100,000. So we're making it easy math. I like 100,000. So 70% of 100,000 is $70,000. Now here's where coming up with repair estimates is enormous in coming up with your offer, because your repair estimates come off of that 70,000. You already know your ARV, 70% of your ARV is at 70,000. So let's say your repair is going to be $40,000, which is easy to get to these days with the price of materials. So then you're left with $30,000, right? Well, where in that $30,000 do you make your money? Well, you have to take your money off of what is remaining. So $30,000, let's say you're aiming at a $10,000 assignment fee. So now your base offer is at 20,000.
Right.
And if you're like me, I go under that so that I can come up to that with the seller. So if it's 20,000, I'm more than likely going to come in at 17,500 or 1,800 with the closing costs.
Okay, you said it's closing costs. You're skipping over things a little bit, so I'm going to just drag you back in there because I know you know this stuff. When you say closing costs, a lot of times what you do as your sales pitch is you offer to cover their closing costs so that they can focus on their dollar amount and don't have to focus on, hey, is this guy robbing me at the closing table and putting more stuff in there? They can just focus on, hey, you're giving me an offer for 17,500 or whatever it is, and I'm going to get 17,500. I'm not going to get 17,500 minus this, minus that, minus this, minus that. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, to an extent. There are penalties that come from the city for not maintaining the property. There are taxes, all of which none of that I'm covering. I'm not covering your back taxes, at least for this present year. If your taxes are up to date, then, that's something. Now, it just opens a whole nother can of...
Everything's negotiable.
Everything is negotiable. Yeah, that's your tool bag. Even closing costs can be a tool bag. You don't necessarily have to throw that in right away. But to me, everybody, like you said, wants to know what they're walking away from or walking away with in their hand. If my offer is 17.5, they want to walk away with 17.5. Period. You need to take an account for how do you get them that money? What are they? And generally, once I know where I'm starting, I don't give my number out. The first person that gives their number out loses. So ask them, what are you hoping to get out of this property? Is there a dollar amount that you would be happy walking away from this property for? And then just listen.
Right. There's a million ways to ask that question. You could ask that question as versus saying, hey, how much do you want? There's a way to say, what's the least amount you would take? If an appraisal came by and was to appraise this property, what do you think that they would say the property's worth? There's a million different ways to ask that question, as you know, and it's very technical. And one of the reasons that I wanted to get, and I should have jumped into this in the beginning, but I'm going to jump into it right now. And make sure right now, if you haven't done so, subscribe, like, comment. If you want to hear anything else, we're going to do lots of videos with Ryan. He's an expert. And the reason he's an expert and he's brand freaking new is because an expert is someone who has figured out how to be successful at something in a quick amount of time, right? That's an expert. If you come out and you're golfing, we're going to exclude you and me. If you're coming out and you're golfing and you went and you hung out with Tiger Woods and he told you, this is what you got to do. And the next thing you're playing to his level, then you're an expert golfer. You came right out of wholesaling with no experience, did 72-ish whatever deals your first year. How many wholesale deals have you closed in 2021?
We are at 43.
43 closed deals. How much money has that generated for your business?
I could give you the exact sense. We're over 100,000 for our business right now.
So last year was about 160,000 is what with the total gross in. So you're a little past a third into the year and you're already more than halfway past what you did last year. So it's going to be.
And I just got a text that's 44 now.
This is real time, baby.
This is real. I literally got a text. We got it. I'm like, okay.
Flash that in the screen. Ryan bet. I got something. We got it for $2,500.
Bam.
Okay, so let's talk about that deal right there. That's a great segue.
That's insane.
Okay, so you bought the house for $2,500. What do you think you'll wholesale it for?
I'm gonna keep this one low. I'm gonna probably put it out there for 7,500.
Cool. Maybe I'm interested.
So this one's a fire damaged house.
Maybe I'm not interested.
Hey man, fire damages are gold mines.
I love them, but certain properties in that particular area, St. Joseph, Missouri, I'm going to be a little bit more picky on.
Yeah. So this one, we went through it this morning. I mean, it's the property's already been gutted out. So all the fire damage stuff has been taken out of it. And we're just left with the four walls, and then reassembling, reframing the inside. We know ARV wise, we're in that 70,000 range. So I need to make it palatable for an investor to come in and say, yeah, $7,500 for a property. I'm going to put $40,000 into it. And you're in that window of 70% of the ARV. And that's where you want your buyers. They need to stay in that window.
So
that's
what
where
you're
they
saying
need to be.
to be a successful wholesaler is you have to be looking out after your investors first and foremost to make sure that you're bringing them good deals and you're not just focused on yourself. Because
yeah, you have to.
I've seen a lot of wholesalers get greedy, and what happens is you get greedy and then they stop getting buyers and buyers stop going to them because the market will heat up. That wholesaler's like, oh man, guys are willing to pay lots of money. So they start moving up their price. And then those guys who buy it, they end up losing money on the property and they stop buying from that wholesaler. So that's a good important aspect to take into consideration. And before I took you off, you were going through the whole process. We got to the point where you talked about like, okay, so now you got the guys, they've signed the contract, you've agreed on a price, you've negotiated the sale. Obviously, it's scary throwing out those numbers the first time you go out there. I know you were nervous, I'm nervous, you're thinking they're going to say no. When they say yes to something that you're like, there's no way they're going to say yes to this. Or when they throw out a number that you think, wow, I can't believe they're going to be willing to sell the house for X number of dollars. Now it becomes the point of actually cinching the deal. And this is the most important part, I believe, how you transact yourself through the closing, because a deal could get just blown up at the closing table because you made a promise that you promised to do something for them. Whatever the promises that you made, you got to make sure that you don't make big promises. You want to just say, hey, I'm going to close the property as soon as I can, blah, 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 blah. How do you handle that?
Let me just I'm just going to give you a story because maybe that's better than anything. Just give you a real count for exactly what goes down. So there was a house here that I went and looked at. It was a lead that we had come through, a postcard. I went and looked at the house. Honestly, it was in a way better condition than a lot of the stuff I see. And so I'm done walking through the house. I'm standing on the front porch with the seller, and I just asked him point blank, what do you need to get out of this house? Immediately, he's like, man, if I could get $500, I would be good to go. And now this was just me, not saying that this is the way to do it, but I said, look, I'm going to give you $1,000 because I know that you want this off of your plate. You want this off your mind. $500, I want you to do better than that. I know 1,000 isn't a huge amount, but I want to be giving you more than what you're asking. And I knew that my margin was perfect, absolutely perfect for this specific property. It's a 3-bedroom
house.
Yeah, you can't. And I didn't want him to feel he was getting robbed. And so we locked that deal up for $1,000. I had a cash buyer lined up for $6,000. So bam, immediately made a $5,000 profit on that. And it was a fast deal. I mean, in a matter of a day, maybe. But something that I had told the seller is, look, most times I can get these done in under 30 days. There's title work to do. There's some inspections that we like to run just to make sure what we see is actually what we're getting. And anything that's undiscoverable, it's not saying that we're going to back out, but we want to know what we're getting. There's, a couple people that like to do certain inspections, whether that's a sewer scope, which I highly recommend, whether that's having a city inspector come through and finding out what, the structure of the house, if it's solid, whatever your thing is, but allow that. What's that?
I don't recommend having any city inspectors coming to your property.
Yeah, no, I would agree there. It is certainly a can of worms, but, allowing room for your cash buyers, your investors to do their own due diligence and making sure that the seller is aware that that is going to happen. If all those boxes are checked, everything's ready to go, and the title work comes back quickly, and you have your cash buyer lined up, close the deal as fast as you can. And here's why. Here's why all of these things are important. Here's why giving extra on this deal was important. Here's why communication was important. Here's why making my numbers make sense for my end. The seller called me 6 months later and said, I have another house, and I know that what you've done with that one, that house looks amazing. I have another one for you that I don't want. Went and looked at it, was done with it, offered him what he was hoping to get out of the house because it made sense, ran with a second deal out of the same seller. And so if you're not paying attention, you're missing a lot of opportunities. And if you're not being an honest person, if you're just focusing on what's in it for you, you are really messing yourself up big time, because you don't know what might come from that one individual.
Right.
I've had a seller come to me with a house that they wanted to get rid of, and by the time we were done with our conversation, they bought 2 properties with me. A seller called me to sell a property to me, and by the time we were done talking, they said, send me 2. I want 2 of your deals. There's a lot to be, there's so much to be said with how you conduct your business, how you conduct yourself, how you have conversations with people, and how you treat both sides, the sellers and your cash buyers.
So we got a couple of questions I want to run through, and this is kind of like a rapid fire. First question, we got the entire process explained. How do you get started with no money?
You're not using your money. You don't have to, you're not closing the deal. So you're making an offer. That's how you get started with no money. You go and you look at a property, you run your formula on that property. That's your number. You make your offer, and you're not going, the minute that you make that offer, you're not going and closing the deal at the title company that day. What you're doing is you're getting that house under contract, and then you're finding a buyer to take that contract. That's what you're doing. You're not putting any of your own money, unless you want to do like earnest money deposits with the title company, which maybe market depends, what your market is, what the seller wants. You just kind of have to follow it. So maybe there's some money that you could put in for that, but it's not necessary if you have a good title company. So really, you make your offer, and then you're going to find your cash buyer that's going to take that contract. And it's other people's money that you're using.
Great.
So that's why making your numbers tight and making sure they're accurate is important.
So ways to find properties, which ways do you like? We know we both have talked about this. We love driving for dollars, both of us, something that's probably the worst use of our time and the funnest thing to do. So we like that. So that's driving for dollars. You like that. What other ways are you currently doing?
Well, I'm not going to tell you anything but DealMachine. That's all we're using. That is our bread and butter. DealMachine, you can do so much with it. You can cold call with DealMachine. You can drive for dollars with DealMachine. You can pull lists with DealMachine. That's all I'm gonna
echo that. I think that you were the only guy that really. So I had DealMachine. I told you like 2 years before I even had met you, and I asked you the same question about a year ago now. I said, well, how are you finding all these properties? And you're like, I just use DealMachine. And it had advanced so much from when I had downloaded it 2 years ago to be in this full functioning CRM that skip traces, that allows people to do that I really believe that there's no excuses. If you're a wholesaler and you want to get started today, download DealMachine. Go buy DealMachine. Go drive properties and get started, man. It's not that hard. And if you wait, you're going to be in a worse position than you are currently. Are you in a better position because you started and quit your job and wholesale property? Is your family in a better position?
Significantly better position. But back up, because I can give you a promo code. So if you're watching this and you're like, what is DealMachine? Go on to DealMachine, download it, use this promo code, and we should be able to put it up on this video somewhere. Put that promo code in there, and that'll give you some free credits to play around with it and get familiar with it. You don't need to recreate the wheel, and don't come up with a formula on your own. Just follow the process that people are using, and people are winning with DealMachine. It is the most simple thing, all-in-one program or an app that you can do everything. But yes, we're way better off now than we've ever been. And because even in our own investment portfolio, we've added more properties because we found leads that were just too good to pass.
Again, it brings me back to the point of wholesaling allows you to really, the best way to become a real estate investor is wholesaling, because you find deals, you identify deals that you want to flip, ideas that you want to sell, and essentially you're cherry picking, right? You can only take so many deals down. You can't take every deal down. So you're like, all right, these are the ones that I want. These are the ones I want to sell. These are ones that I don't want. And you're making money for finding deals and you're learning about real estate. So it's a fun deal. How many of your deals are on market versus off market?
All of my deals are off market.
So for those, I'll speak a little bit about on market. When you're in a market like Ryan is in, where you have more supply than demand, and I will tell you that this is like cities like Baltimore, Maryland, Kansas City, Missouri, St. Joe, Missouri. And the way I'm going to explain this is where the cities were bigger than they were in the past than they are today. St. Joe's glory days were in the 1800s, and that's true. So you have a lot of abandoned housing that needs to be restored and rehabilitated. Now, if you're in a place like Seattle, Washington, where I'm from, there's a high growth of jobs, high paying jobs, and there might have been that same situation 50 years ago, but today, every house is worth at least $1 million in Seattle, Washington. So this is a very market specific. So I'm going to speak about, there is on market deals a lot in other markets, but specifically in the market that Ryan's in, there's a ton of supply out there. So it's much easier to go on or off market. Now, if you're a wholesaler and you're trying to start, you can definitely find deals on the MLS. You can find deals on Craigslist, which we would consider on market because the person's trying to actively market them. You could look at for sale by owners. You could look at other stuff, but generally, if the guy hasn't put the property on the market, that's going to be your best deal because they're only marketing it to this guy right here. They're not marketing it to this guy, plus this guy, plus this guy, plus this guy. And they think they have a lot of interest when they really don't have anybody but a bunch of tire kickers. When they're dealing with just one person, then they're not really concerned about trying to extract the most amount of money on that property. Not to say you can't make money finding deals on market. I just feel like your best deals are coming off market, and that seems to ring true for you as well.
Yeah, the competition is low with off market. I've had cash buyers come and say, yeah, we've made offers on these houses that were listed, and by the time we got our offer in, it was already sold. Again, that's kind of one of those things when you start building relationships with your cash buyers, you can find specifically what they're looking for and you give it to them so that they're not, and that's where your benefit is you're bringing them deals. They're already looking for deals, but they don't have the time or the desire to go out and find the deals. So you're finding a deal that fits their criteria or their mold, and you're bringing that deal to them and to them first. And then when they pass, you find another person.
Perfect. I got another question to ask you. Changes in your business from 2020 to 2021, and I know there's been major ones, and let's talk about them and how they have impacted your business.
The biggest change was bringing someone on board to help with the paperwork. And I was literally, Megan and I, my wife, were just talking about this last night. There was a package of 5 houses that we sold. I remember sitting on the couch after the kids were in bed, and we were typing up the contracts and sending them one by one via DocuSign. And I'm like, that took like 3 hours to get all that done. And then sending the assignments, another 3 hours worth of work getting all this done, to the point where it was just like, I don't want to do that. And so bringing on a processor or I don't know what title, transaction coordinator, bringing that person into the fold first changed the game, because that took what was to me a bottleneck, because I'm going out, I can find the properties, I can make offers, I can get them under contract, but then I have to spend the next several hours getting those contracts done and following them up and make sure they're signed. It just takes time. So getting that off of my plate allowed me to be able to spend more time looking for the deals, walking through the deals, evaluating them, making offers. Finding the next thing was finding drivers to go and help generate leads for us. I love driving for dollars. Love it. Most fun part of the job, as you know, is driving for dollars, because you just go out and there's a deal, there's a deal, there's a deal, there's a deal. And it's so fun.
I actually like doing the check is my favorite part of the deal.
Yeah, that's okay too. But there are pieces that are fun and that you can do, but you have to understand what is eating your time, and driving for dollars takes time. So if you can bring in some drivers, pay them for a deal or for every lead, whether that's $1 per lead, which is what I would recommend, and then giving them a kickback. If one of those leads turns into a deal that you're able to sign, giving them a kickback as a extra reward for, hey, your lead found a deal for us. So that's been something. And then recently we've brought in another individual to do cold calling. I would consider her our lead manager, really, because she's making sure that she's cold calling. She's making sure that we have leads going out and driving for dollars, and just extra postcards from DealMachine's list engine. So that has been pivotal. We've brought in a lot of people into the fold. So I think we have.
What I'm hearing is you're delegating your responsibilities. You're taking
Correct.
like what you were doing, which was running it like a mom and pop business, which works, and you could be a slave to the grind, right?
Yep.
When you're on your vacations, you're sitting on your phone and you're doing that sort of thing. Your wife's going, "What are you doing? Why can't you just, pay attention to me?" And you're like, "Well, I've got 6 deals on the line. What the heck?" That's how, those promises. So you are now scaling, right? And to scale, to do volume. And what's your goal for this year? How many deals do you really want to do? I know you have one in your head that you haven't spoken about, and I know the one that you're telling everybody else. Is it 200? I think it's 200.
The deal, it's changed so many times because I wanted to double what I did last year, which would put me at 140, around 145. Yeah, gosh, it's so hard to pick a goal and stick with a goal because I see the potential, and I see that by adding more people to the team, my potential growth is bigger. So then I'm like, well, we can probably get 10 deals a month. So initially the goal was to double what I did last year. I'm going to keep grinding. So we're doing really well. I'm really proud of where we are this year, but now I feel like there's more to be done, and having extra hands on board doing what we need to do to accomplish it. I mean, we're looking at doing 10 deals a month. So that's the goal.
All right. And what are some mistakes that you made early on and that you've addressed and you've fixed that have made you, I'm going to consider you're going to be my wholesale guy, right? You're going to be the guy that people can learn from when they want to go wholesaling. And we talked about this a little bit on the phone the other day. As you know, when you learn information today, it's the freshest in your head. So you're right now in your second year, knee deep in deals, and you're learning a ton of information that you should be writing down so that you don't make these same mistakes. So what are the mistakes that you made, and what have you done to grow from them?
We've made the mistake of offering too high. Say that again.
I get married.
Oh man.
Contractors? No, just kidding.
Yeah, contractors. So our first house that we got was, they only wanted $1,500 for, so I jumped on it, and I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. We're gonna do it, and it was a horrible experience. But honestly,
I feel like I was there with you.
You were. I mean, you went in, and I remember the laughter, and I was like, what's this guy laughing about? Why is he? And I know you're probably thinking, oh, he is in deep here. But you know what? After this is our 6th month of getting a $995 rent check, I don't care how horrible of an experience that was. I'm getting $900 a month and not having to do anything now. So it was a tough experience to learn. But you know what it taught me? Rehab costs. And now I know what it takes to get a house back from where that house was, because it needed everything. Was it a mistake? I don't know. I'd say it was a learning experience. Learning what your offers can be, and having that experience of knowing what rehab costs was, because it took me a little while to hone in what a good offer was, and it took me a little while to hone in what a good resale value was, and it was trial and error. But once you find your pocket, you stay in your pocket, and you just keep rolling your deals. So
knowing your market is what you're saying. So that's just adaptability, being a first-time wholesaler, understanding what your market is, finding out what works well, finding out what product you can move. Like, you're probably not chasing some of these big deals that you don't have a lot of buyers for, right?
Yeah, I mean, know your niche. I mean, there's other wholesalers that are going to be in your market. There's wholesalers that are going to come in and compete, but they may not be willing to do what you're doing. And there may be times where you hear of people that are making 40 grand on a deal. Don't go chasing, don't go chase they're getting it. So you're focusing all your attention on that, and you may not get very far. So I would say find your niche and be aware of your market, study your market, and go with what is reasonable in your particular market. If you can get 40K spreads in wholesale deals in your market, then go for that. If your market is a little bit more like mine and your spreads are lower, but there's enough deals then go for that. Be a specialist in what you're paying attention to.
Awesome. All right, so wrapping it up. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. Go to how do they follow you? Can they follow you on?
Yeah, we're on Instagram, heritage_home_investments. We do have a YouTube channel it's slow going, but we've got that Heritage Home Investments on YouTube as well. Our Facebook page, Heritage Home Investments, and we can send you all of those handles so that you can.
We'll put that in our description. You can check out Ryan Haywood, watch him grow as I've watched him grow. He's kicking butt. He's in St. Joe. He's in a market that I never thought I would ever invest in. Now we're investing there. It doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. It doesn't matter where you're at in location. It matters what your mental attitude is. And your attitude was one that I can do this. If these guys can do this, so can I, and it's changed your life. And now you're starting to think bigger, right? You're not thinking you were trapped at a job. And I'm going to say this, you're trapped in a job. And when you're at a job, you're trapped in a certain way of thinking. When you come out and you got to earn every day, it's on you. And everything is a reflection of your effort, is a reflection of your will, is a reflection of your tenacity. And your measuring stick is those deals and that money. What that says to me about you is you're doing amazing. So just keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations. You just got accepted into a mastermind group. And we talked about that a little bit. Like, do I do this? I'm like, yeah, invest in your career, invest in your money, surround yourself by other high achievers. Because right now you're kind of in cloud nine, like that this is actually happening, but you might go to this collective genius meeting and meet a guy who's doing 50 wholesale deals a month and then change what is realistic to you. So
I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that realization because I've felt before like I don't belong there. But in reality, that's exactly where I need to be in order to get better. And if I'm not continuing to try to get better, then I'm never going to.
All right, guys, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification button. All right. Thanks a lot, Ryan. I appreciate your time.
See ya.
See ya. Welcome to the Millionaire Mentorship Contest. I got a contest that I'm going to announce right now, and I'm going to give you the details, and you got nothing to lose. First, go to TroyKearnsChannel.com and enter to win. Second, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on TikTok and Instagram. Third, comment on your favorite video and share with a friend. Finally, text me at 702-867-1086. Then, on the 4th of July, we'll draw the winner. That winner will be mentored by me, and we will find a property to flip together. I will finance the deal and help you through the entire process, and we'll split the profits right down the middle. Most deals we shoot to make at least $40,000, so that means if you win, you have the potential to make at least $20,000, if not more. Disclaimers: see contest rules for details. Certain restrictions apply. All rules will be at TroyKearnsChannel.com.